Hi everyone, it's Diane. I am working on sewing the signatures into these covers. So I'm going to, I have this one just about done, but I want to complete it with you. But I wanted to do the beginning stages with this one, and then we'll go to that one and finish it. So that way I hope you'll get to see the whole process without actually watching the whole process, if you know what I mean. So this one, I just have signatures, and I don't have the spine yet. So let's get going on that. What I did was I took one of the flexible file folders, the kind that hang. They're usually green. This is more of a brown. But I cut a piece 2 inches wide because that's how wide I wanted my spine. Yes, I finally sewed all those pieces down today. And just about the same height as the cover, there is a tiny, tiny space at the top and the bottom, just a sliver of space at the top and the bottom. So this will fit right there, but I'm not going to glue it in just like that. I have a piece of fabric. I'm going to cover this with the fabric. This is one of the pieces of the Flea Market Fresh. So I'm going to glue this down. Oh, I talked about the height, but the height of this. So I cut the fabric tall enough so that it will fold over the ends, and wide enough so that it will go beyond the spine itself. And you'll see as I put it all together. So I'm going to just glue this down. There will be stitches running through it, which will help secure it also. By the way, I got my nails done today. You probably noticed because it's not my usual. They're a little fancier this time. Because my daughter, I'm going to just put some glue here to fold that excess over. My daughter and her husband are hosting a murder mystery party for Halloween at a restaurant, a local restaurant that has a back room. We have the back room reserved, and she bought a kit or a book or something that has the story and the characters and everything. So I think there's going to be like 13 people, and we are all suspects of the murder of Frankenstein's monster. So I am the Wicked Witch, and that's all I know. But we don't know anything about the story as the guests. We don't know, except who our character is, so that we can dress appropriately. So that's why I didn't want to get black. I mean, I did, but I have to keep the same manicure for 3 weeks because I'm not going to pay the money, more than I need to. So there's my piece. Now, that's why I have this fancy manicure. So we're done talking about that now. Here is a piece of paper that I cut just as a template. It's 2 inches wide, which is the spine, and it's 8 1/4 high, which is the height of my pages, the largest pages. So I'm just going to lay that down here, and I've punched holes. Oh, I folded it in the center, and I have 3 signatures. If you have an odd number of signatures, you can fold it in the center to get your center line. And I have 3 signatures. So after I do that, then I open it up and fold this edge to meet the center, and then this edge to meet that center. No, the same center. And then I have 3 rows of holes, or 3 folded lines where I can poke the holes and sew the signatures. And then I use my ruler and I mark the center spots where I folded it this way to get the center, and where the lines intersect, I put a mark, and then I measured out to get all of my holes. So I use a 5-hole signature pamphlet stitch, so I have 5 spots on each line. I hope that wasn't too confusing. I got a little bit ahead of myself sometimes. So I will lay this down, and it is shorter than the spine because this is the height of the pages. So where is my, I guess I'll get a different, oh, here it is. I have a pen that has a fine point, but it's dark enough to show up on this folder. So I have my holes punched already, so I'm just going to put that pen nib through the holes. Didn't think that one went through. It's a beautiful day. We've had some lovely weather yesterday and today. I think it's supposed to rain tomorrow. Okay, so I have all those holes marked, and I will just poke a hole where all those spots are. Can barely see that one. So if you want a stiffer spine, you can definitely use chipboard and get a nice solid spine, but I like the flexibility of this with the soft cover. It keeps everything soft. But a chipboard spine is just fine. One thing I forgot to do, see, I have a T marked here for the top, and I was going to make a light mark on this so I would know, because they're evenly spaced, but sometimes if you don't have them lined up the same, well, I'm just going to mark this as the top. If you don't have if you had it this way to mark the holes in one signature and then ended up with it this way, they might end up just a little bit off from each other. I've had it happen, so I know it happens. So I always mark a T or write top on this, and you usually don't have to on the spine because I usually sew them right into the book and you know which way is up. But with this, I don't know which way is up, so I put a T at the top. So now this is ready for me to sew my signatures into this and then glue it in. That's as far as I want to go with this one, and I'll need this still. So I did that with this book, and I started sewing my signatures in. I have 2 signatures sewn in, but I left the last one so I could do it with you. So you can watch me do that and then watch me attach this to the book. So the first thing I do, I like to stuff my pockets before I determine the width of my spine. Although I already had it determined for this book because I had to make the cover ahead of time. So I knew it was going to be a 2-inch spine, but I do like to fill the pockets to see how fat the whole thing is going to be. So before I sew the signatures, I pull things out of the pockets and lay them in a pile. And then when I'm done sewing it in, I start from the back because these things are, they're going to end up with the back items on the top. And I just put them back in their pockets before I forget what goes where. And sometimes I forget anyway, but it doesn't really matter because whoever gets the journal can move things around any way they want to. And then when I get to the center, I make sure everything is lined up the way I want it, and the center, everything is down into the center. And then I'll put a clip on it. And then I continue on. This is a nice deep pocket, so I don't think they'll fall out. I'm going to leave it there, the same with that one. But things that kind of move around, I take them out. And this is paper clipped on, so I think that's fine. And I will put a clip at the top. You can put a clip on all four if you want to, if you feel happier with that. More secure. All right. Make sure that it feels like all of the pages are down in that fold. Then take your template, and it's already folded, so I just lay the center line down into that fold and punch the holes. I'm just watching what I'm doing, of course, so I hope that everything is visible to you. Okay, now I've got my holes. I already have my holes in this piece. You do have to make sure that when you start sewing it in, you have this right side up, because it's kind of heartbreaking to take that out so it doesn't get bent, to sew a signature in upside down and then have to take it out. Ask me how I know. So now I'm going to take my needle and my thread. I measure the thread to be 3 times the height of my signature, and usually add a little extra just to be safe. I get a needle with a large enough eye that I don't have trouble putting this thick thread through it. This is a waxed thread that came with a bookmaker's kit that I got in a Happy Mail. I love those threads. It came with 4 different, they're all neutral, but there's 4 different shades. So I will need to find some more of that on Amazon when I run out of this. That's not in a kit, but just on its own. So this is, whoops, see, I almost did it. This is the top of the signature, the top of the page, and this is the top. So they're all facing the same way. Normally when I'm sewing a signature into a book, I start here and then the knot ends up here, but since this is going to be hidden, I'm going to keep the knots on the back. So I'm going to start at the back of the signature like that. So I have my needle through there, and then I will put it through the back of my signature. There's a hole there, I just have to get the needle in there. There we go. Okay, so that's right in the center. This is a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. Leave a tail. Then go up or down, it doesn't matter, to the next hole and put it through to the back and into the spine. It seems I can sew the signature into this kind of a spine so much faster because I'm not juggling around the book cover. It's just this little spine piece, and it just seems so much easier. Okay. And I pull my threads. Why is it doing that? Tight for every stitch. I make sure that I've pulled it tight. Okay. And then I go up the same direction. I went up, so I'm going up again. into the back, into the spine. And there we are. So I don't know if you could tell, but I just reached behind and pulled the tail to tighten up that thread right there, that stitch. So now I'm going to go back down. So I'm going to go into the next hole. There's already a thread there, so I don't want to pierce that thread. And go into the hole of the spine, and don't pierce the thread. It will make it pretty much impossible to pull it tight if you've got your thread, your needle going through that thread. And see how loose that is? There. Tightened it up. Now, going down, I am going to skip the center hole. That's where I want to end up. So I'm skipping that and going down to this hole. Sorry about that. Someone is texting me. But we're going to continue on. Okay. Make sure you come up in the hole that you previously made with the awl. Pull it, and then I'm going to tighten the back again. Pull it on the back to tighten up that stitch. And then go down to the last hole and into the hole of your spine. And then back up again. That will give you a complete line of stitches on the front and the back. And lastly, we just have to go down in the center. And my thread, my tail, is on the left side of my thread, so I want to bring this up on the other side. So when I tie my knot, it will be on either side of that stitch. Okay, so I have a tail here and this end on this side. So I'm just going to tie a double knot. And because it's a waxed thread, it should stay very nicely, but it will end up with some glue on it in this case, since I am gluing the spine into the book cover. Trim your threads. So the signature is, all the signatures are now sewn to the spine. But we have to put the spine into the book cover. Drop that clip. Okay, so you see I've got the spine here, and I've got these little wings. And I have my, I drew the center signature or spine, so 2 inches right in the center. First I marked the center by folding it and kind of pinching it so I knew right where the center was, and then took a ruler and measured it with a pencil, and then I measured 1 inch on either side. So that's my spine. This is the center mark. So I can take this and see where the center signature is and line it up with that pencil mark. I'm going to just mark it up a little higher onto the fabric, but not all the way up, to help me center it more easily. So I'm going to take my Fabri-Tac glue, and I'm going to put glue all over the spine. Pretty close to the top, because you don't want this coming loose. And I make sure I get some glue on the knots just to make them a little more secure. Put lots of glue on it. You want it to be very secure. And Fabri-Tac is a very good, sturdy glue. All right, now try to not get my head in the way. But I can see that center signature. I know it's a little bit dark, and that mark. So I have that lined up, and I'm just going to make sure I have it almost to the top. I'm going to turn it over so I can line up at the bottom also. So it should be centered. Okay, so it's just there's a tiny bit of space between the edge of the cover and the edge of that spine. And I don't have any glue on these flaps yet. And I want to make sure that this spine portion with the folder is glued. So I'm going to go in between the signatures and press. You can use a bone folder. Press it down. Press the edge down. And Fabri-Tac dries quickly. I think if I pulled on it, it would come up right now because it's not that dry yet. And then I have the flaps, so I'm just going to put some glue on the flaps. We're making good time here. Just make sure the edge of that folder gets plenty of glue under it. And I hold my signature up and press that down. I don't want the signature laying down and pulling that over. Looks like I need a little bit more glue under the edge here. So that is glued in. Just gonna make sure it's dry before I let go of these pages. I prepared some fabric ahead of time. I'll turn this off. Got my son texting me and my sister's messaging me on Facebook Messenger. All right, just going to trim off that little thread that's hanging there. I prepared some fabric. These are more pieces from the Flea Market Fresh collection. So this pretty floral piece is the right height, and it's wide enough that it covers the edge of this fabric that I attached the spine to. And then this piece can go on the back. Okay, I think that's dry enough that I can lay that down, and I will add some glue to this fabric. Make sure you get it close enough to the edge that when you press it down, the glue will go all the way. You know, it'll squish out. I don't put it right to the very edge because then it would squish out. but I do want it close enough that when it squishes, it will go right to the edge, so the edge isn't loose. And then center it where you want it. And press it down. And if you want to, you could put a little trim along that seam. I don't have any pulled, so I might add it later, but I don't have it right now. Also, if you want to make sure that this spine is really secure, you can whip stitch that right across there to make sure that it doesn't, that the glue is not going to come out. So you can whip stitch, or do not whip stitch, but do a like a hem stitch here on both top and bottom if you want to. All right, so in mine, the one I'm keeping, where is it? I do want to do something to the inside, so I'll show you what I did to mine. We're not quite done yet, but I probably won't do any more on camera. I cut down a bingo card a little bit, cut the bottom off. I don't know if I cut the sides, but I cut the bottom off because I didn't want it to be quite so tall. And I didn't cut, all of the numbers are there, I just cut like the information that was at the bottom. And I just glued that on and it makes a tag pocket. And I added some pom-pom on top of that. And then at the back I added this little piece of embroidered linen for a pocket, and then added a photograph and a recipe card. So I'll do something. And then I took a piece of leather and made a strap for it. And someone asked me what this is called, what this metal piece was called. It is one of the Tim Holtz hitch fasteners. I will show you what it looks like when it's not attached. So it's just a little knob, and it's got a hole for the screw. So it comes with the knobs and the screws. You poke the hole and then put this up, put the screw up through the hole, and then screw this on. It is that easy. So I could take this off right now if I wanted to, because it's just screwed on. I added the little leather patch on the front and the back because the fabric could fray around the hole, and I wanted to make sure it was going to be secure. So I punched holes in the leather scrap and then put glue on it so that the holes were all lined up, and then put the metal piece on. This piece, I just took these were leather samples that I got at the flea market. I have a bunch of them. So I just cut a strip and punched some holes. This one is bigger than this one because this one is the one I've been using, and it's getting stretched over the little knob. And I glued it here, and then I sewed it like that, which would have been easier to do before I sewed the book together. Maybe I'll do that on number 3. Yeah, so that's it. I might add a little bit more to the pages, but basically we're getting to the finish line here. I will add the strap, the pockets on the front and back, and some sort of a trim, probably, maybe some pom-pom. And then see what else I need to add to the pages of these other journals, and then they'll be ready to go in my shop. So I am going to do a flip through when they're done. My week has been so erratic. Things keep coming up. I'm not going to predict that these are going to be done tomorrow. Hopefully they will be done tomorrow. But I don't know. I just don't know. Things just keep coming up. So when they are done, I will do a flip through, and on the flip through video, I will announce what day and what time they will be available in my shop. It might be the same day of the video, just later in the day, or it might be a different day. So they will not be available as soon as the video goes up. I wanted to give a heads up because there has been a lot of interest shown in these special journals with all of the vintage flea market ephemera that is within the journals. I think these are some pretty special journals, if not for the design of the journal, but at least for all the special items that are inside each journal. So that's something that I don't normally do. Normally when the video goes up, the journal is already in the shop. So I'm just giving you a heads up. If you go to the shop, as soon as you see the video, as soon as the video is listed, you won't see the journals. But I'll say it in the video, and I will also put it in the description box. You can just go to the description box and find the day and time of the listing. Okay? I think that's enough talking. I hope that it was helpful to you to see how I put this together. And I can see I need to add a little bit of glue here, or at least do some stitching to hold that down, because there's a little pucker there. So I am loving these journals. I think they are so great, so fun, and I might have to make more, but once I'm done with these 3, I'm going to get started on Christmas journals. Alright, so if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I will see you very soon. Have a creative day today. Bye-bye.